Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook along with Tomm Pfitzenmaier with Summit Commodity Brokerage, and we're looking at mostly higher prices in grains and livestock. The one exception is the cattle market, but grains off to the races here again after a little profit taking on Friday, Tom. It looks like we're putting in both war and weather premium again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there was I guess you'd have to call it somewhat of an escalation in the war and Ukraine. They've been hitting the Odessa port pretty heavily. Now they've sort of started over on the Danube River, the ports there, which makes everybody a little uneasy that's pretty close to Romania. Romania starts getting slightly involved in this, and then all of a sudden NATO's involved. So I mean, this could be a big escalation that happened over the weekend. So you're really seeing a big reaction in the wheat markets, up 44, 45 cents. You've got these wheat up at 760. It could quite easily make a run at $8 here on all this news. And then, like you said, on top of this, you add in the heat that's coming for a big chunk of the Corn Belt, starting the middle of the weekend, mostly through the weekend. Lack of subsoil moisture, not a lot of rain in the forecast. We've been yakking about this lack of subsoil moisture really through most of the growing season. It hasn't affected the crop as much as you might have thought up to this point. But a lot of people are wondering if this crop's going to hit a wall. And if the temperatures and the forecasts we've got for moisture come out, if you're going to hit a wall, this might be wall week. So it's really getting important to watch all those factors this week. Now they're looking for a little increase, 1 to 2% in crop condition rating this afternoon, but the market's going to ignore that pretty rapidly if in fact that's what happens.
Yeah, and there's already a lot of discussion that yield is dropping, right?
Yeah, corn yields probably, well, most people think it's no greater than 175. A lot of our analysts are in that 168 to 173 range. You get sub 170 and you're back $6 plus corn. So yeah, we're right on the edge here of having some significant increase in corn prices. And then you add to that the strength in the wheat, the problem, the effect that has the Ukrainian mess has on corn, and you've got the potential for some up here. Now, you actually have seen China snooping around. They bought some sorghum from us last week. Excuse me. They bought some corn out of Brazil last week. So you can't help but wonder if they start to get a little uneasy, if they won't step here and maybe buy some U.S. corn. So you got demand's been a problem, and maybe that changes too here over the next few days.
Yeah, and China came in and bought 4.4 million bushels of soybeans this morning in the new crop category. And so we've been hearing rumors that they've been in buying, but do you think they're getting scared? Are they going to buy more?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they should be. A lot of people are scared. I mean, we're heading in. All we've been talking about now since the crop was planted was how critical August weather was for soybeans, and then you add on the top that we lost 4 million acres that we thought we were going to plant, and the forecast we've got with no subsoil moisture. I mean, there's really the potential for some big explosion on the upside in soybean prices under the right circumstances. And if the Chinese need soybeans and we're relatively well priced, I guess you wouldn't be surprised to see them continue to buy some new crop soybeans from us. They tend to do that anyway this time of year.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're knocking on the door of some contract highs here, aren't we?
We absolutely are. And we take those out, and then it looks like you're ready for another leg up. We had a little disappointment in the market, the August contract on Friday, which turned the momentum indicators lower. By the middle of the night last night, those had popped right back higher again. So it's really hard to keep this bull market suppressed, and there's plenty of buyers on any time you have a break here.
Yeah,
and on corn, the funds are still short. The Commitment of Traders report on Friday showed they still have a pretty good short position. So all they have to do is cover that, and it could give us a nice pop in the corn market.
Yeah. So what is your upside thought about both corn and soybeans here? especially beans, if we take out the contract high, how far do we run then?
Oh, I think you've got a chance to at least make a run up at 15 on the new crop November soybean contract. If it stays hot and dry, maybe more than that through the month of August stays hot and dry, maybe more than that. I think December corn, if you see wheat up at $8, I think you've got a good chance at seeing December corn at least make a run at $6.
And what do you think? How much more war premium do we need to put in the wheat market? How much more of a push will that give us?
That's the tricky part because, all this is doing primarily is limiting exports. It's not destroying grain. So the grain's there. It's just a question of how it's going to get moved. So I don't want to get too wound up about this war premium. I guess I think the weather premium is way more important than the war premium is.
Gotcha. Okay, cattle market setting back here today with higher corn. That might be understandable, but we got kind of some mixed news out of the reports on Friday, both inventory and on feed, didn't we?
Yeah, and the placement number was a little higher than they thought. I don't know that you need to make a lot out of that. On feed was maybe a little more than we thought it was going to be, but you got cattle open lower this morning. They're already roughly $1 off their low. Feeders are lower, which certainly is understandable with the strength you've got in the grain markets and with that
Right.
cattle on feed report. But to me, it's just pretty resilient when you're only down 50 cents on cattle, and now you're a buck and a half off the lows on feeders already this morning. There's some pretty good resilience to that cattle market just across the board.
Yeah, and part of that is due to the cash strength that we saw last week. And so can we continue to build on that, do you think?
Well, the consumer continues to buy the beef. That's good. The dollars continues to be rock along here. It's popped up over 100, but it's been under 100 for a few days. So that should ultimately weakness in the dollar should be supportive of our exports. So you keep thinking the other shoe is going to drop on this cattle market,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't. So I guess you have to continue to be encouraged, but be cautious. A lot of people are advocating puts, and I think that's the ideal strategy for a market like this that's relatively high. You can buy a put that gives you a good support level and keeps the upside open. So it's kind of the best of all worlds in a situation like that. Probably the same is true for the grain markets.
Yeah. Plus, you probably take a little bit of that volatility out of the picture so you can sleep at night. That's for sure.
And there's
What?
tons of that. There's tons of that going on right now for
Oh,
sure.
no doubt. Hog market is run much farther than a lot of us thought. Is it going to keep running here? We're seeing a little spillover strength again this week, or this morning, I should say, after a higher week last week again.
Well, you got the deferreds are 20 cents under the August contract. So you've got that incentive to pull prices higher. You've got pork prices substantially under beef and at the retail level. So you've got support from that side of the demand equation. So I don't know. I don't see a reason to get particularly bearish. That's not, we've had a nice run up. So occasional setbacks aren't going to be a big surprise. But overall, I think the hog market should hold up fairly well here.
Yeah, and the cash market continues to tick higher here. And so obviously that's going to, even though we're at a discount, that's going to continue to keep pulling those futures along, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. I guess it's hard for me to get real negative the whole meat complex actually at this point.
Yeah. All right. One last question. We have a Fed meeting coming up here Tuesday, Wednesday. Are we going to see a quarter point increase or not, Tom?
I think so. They've sort of committed themselves to that's what they're going to do, and I don't see any reason why they won't. So yeah, I think that'll happen.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Tomm Pfitzenmaier, Summit Commodity Brokerage. That's Markets Now.